resolution to authorize membership in GMA Workers' Compensation Fund. If you would like any presentation, Mr. Pike is available.
Do we need a presentation?
This covers, vendors are covered by their own. This is just simply, right now, mayor and council. What about interim? So it's just mayor and council. Okay.
All right. Is there a motion on the floor?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution 2013-01-01.
01 or 07?
04.
01,
Because this is resolution.
Oh, gotcha.
To approve resolution to authorize membership in GMA Workers' Compensation
Is there a
Fund.
second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the resolution, please signify so by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter the minutes. Passed. Number 9.
Mayor and Council, number 9 is consideration and approval of a resolution for the 2013 Brookhaven Capital Lease with GMA. Mr. Pike's available for presentation if you desire.
Do we need a presentation on this?
What is it for?
I'm sorry, I went through this. What's my impression?
Yeah, what's it cover?
Explain the capital lease and all that, what that is.
That's right. The Georgia Municipal Association has a master lease agreement with several banks that allows local governments, municipalities mostly, but some counties do as well, to do capital leases for their long-term assets. They do have a brick and mortar program as well. As you can, City Hall, police stations, et cetera, you can go through this program. What this agreement here is to do some initial startup capital, mostly some of the IT purchases that we need to get up and running. I kind of envisioned from a budget standpoint, we may need somewhere around $4 million in capital during 2013, including most of the police vehicles. But for startup, I didn't want to pay interest for a whole year. We really only need a smaller batch of money to get started with. There's no legal fees involved with the GMA lease program. There's no closing costs or anything like that. It's strictly straight up interest. So there's no reason why we can't do multiple agreements as we need the money coming on. The interest rate is a 5-year loan at 1.89, I believe, 86, 89%, but under 2%. And it's strictly principal and interest. There's no other legal fees involved.
There's a dollar buyout at the end of the term, also in it.
Oh, yeah, we own it. It's not even a dollar buyout. We own it. We own it when it's done.
I'm sorry, but
How about at the end of the year, as a city, I thought our obligation was to make sure all debt was paid off.
That's the interesting thing about this is legally, because it's on a lease, you're able to extend it for long periods of time. GMA will, they don't actually take possession of the asset, but for our vehicles and whatnot, we'll send title to them. They own it, and we're renting it from them for a 5-year period. And in the 5 years, they give us the title back. So that's how you're able to get around the one-year contract provisions.
So-
there is an appropriation clause. If at any time council says, we don't like this lease, we think it's a bad idea, we're done, we're just not going to appropriate for it next year, you technically and legally could do that. It'll be the last time you ever get a loan. But there is that provision in there that allows you for each year, you're promising that you will look to appropriate funds.
Can you reiterate what it is you're looking to put in for lease?
You know about the specific assets that we're looking at? It's mostly computer equipment, and in the very back, you'll see there's an agenda item 15 that lists a lot of computer equipment that we're going to get up to the city. I envision court software will be part of this package, and there was something, the permitting software for the Park Patterson arrangement. They're going to acquire it so that they can have it up and running by the 18th. But it is our plan to buy that so that it's licensed in the city's name, so that if anything ever happens with the contract, that data and the software stays with us.
Well, I have to ask this question. It's coming up on the agenda here. We're looking at an IT review is not what is coming up on the IT review. Could this be included under the lease agreement?
Well, they're asking permission to buy this, and then they're gonna come to me and say, okay, council said buy it, how do we do it? And this would be the mechanism to get some of that equipment online and get ready to
So this is a general lease for an unspecified amount for yet to be determined assets. And what's the upset number? What's the maximum?
It's a $1 million lease here.
Okay,
And if, when we use up those funds, we identify future projects and what we anticipate using those funds for, we can return to GMA and do another batch, such as police vehicles or city hall build out or whatever we may have between now and then.
why wasn't this in our earlier package? Why are we just getting this tonight? I mean, I don't remember seeing this in what came out on Friday.
It was not available on Friday.
I'm sorry?
It was not available on Friday.
Yeah, this
Okay.
and the TAM, the lawyers were going back and forth on all weekend to get it ready. The language in it, one of the nice things about going through GMA is they've got pretty standardized language. It was just a matter of identifying the bank, identifying the interest rate percentage, the terms, et cetera, to get everything finished. And then, of course, the documents with the deal for his review.
Chris, are you able to, are you flexible in that the city may be able to purchase items with the short-term loan that we may adopt tonight? And then do a sale leaseback on these if you decide that from a financing standpoint it makes more sense to finance it under the leasing program? Or are all of those purchases, they have to be scheduled and purchased directly by the GDA?
I don't know if we can take assets we already own
You can't show
and turn around and turn them over to GMA as part of the lease. I think we have to buy them through this process.
Okay.
I'm not sure I really got the answer to my question. We're going to be asked to allocate money for hardware. And you're talking about computer software, hardware is here, for lease.
Hardware,
Okay,
software.
so it would seem to make more sense to do it on a lease rather than do it against the budget. We're still in the phase of figuring out what that's going to be.
Oh, right, yeah, we're talking about two different issues. We're gonna acquire the equipment based on agenda item 15. But agenda item 15 doesn't specify where the money's gonna be coming from. If council decides, yes, we need to get this equipment, we need to be up and running, and utilize the recommendation of the IT department, then the next question will be, okay, how do we pay for it? So my solution is to have the GMA lease in place so that if and when we do approve capital purchases, there is that pool of financial resources that we can pull from as we need.
Thank you.
Chris, do you execute a lease as you need it? Do you do it in bites, or do you take, would you just take out the amount that you need for right now, and then maybe further down the road when you need to buy police vehicles, you do another part of it, or?
That's exactly, yeah, this is just $1 million, I'm saying just $1 million. I don't ignore the fact that's a lot of money.
Right.
This is a mechanism.
But it's not all that we anticipate spending on capital in 2013, as we need additional funding based on host allocation, et cetera. We may need additional capital funding for the startup equipment. We can go back to GMA later in the year and do an additional lease for that additional equipment.
So it's not unlike a line of credit?
So it's not a line of credit. We'll take the $1 million out at closing, which you approve tomorrow. And then we will start drawing from those funds as we acquire capital assets.
And you like this program?
Yes, it's very convenient. The rates are always competitive. 5-year loan for 1.86% is pretty good. There's no legal fees, which can really run up your hidden interest rate costs.
Any other questions or discussion?
Are the batches in millions?
No, the batches are whatever we say we want them to be. This was a good number for us to start with. identified some assets, including what IT had given us, what I thought the court software was going to be, what I thought the permitting, what I know the permitting and inspection software costs are going to be, and it was 980 something thousand, and I just left a little bit of no work in there. I like zeros.
Thanks, Chris.
Jim? Any questions?
No, I'm just a little caught off guard, but, no, I think we're good.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Also move.
Is there a second?
Second.
You need to read it?
I move to adopt resolution 2013-01-02. Consideration and approval of a resolution for the 2013 Brookhaven Capital Lease with GNA.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? More discussion? All in favor of resolution 2013-01-02, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter the record. Number 10.
Mayor and Council, this is consideration and approval of resolution to authorize a short-term loan in the principal amount of $5,400,000. I have Mr. Hanshaw here tonight to present.
Mr. Mayor, good evening. I'm Troy from the law firm of Alex Mark. I came for, I think, almost all the updates on the before, and you approved a resolution authorizing us to go out and solicit bids for a short-term loan for the city's operations. We come before you tonight to ask for approval of a short-term loan in the amount of $5,400,000 from JP Morgan Chase Bank. The interest rate is 0.60. It's a fixed rate. There will be one payment at the end of the year on December 31st, 2013 for the entire principal and accrued interest to that date. There is a prepayment block in the sense that you cannot prepay the note until on or after November 25th of this year. But after that, you can prepay the note. There is a slight penalty, which then decreases to nothing after a short period of time. I'll entertain any questions that the city council may have.
Any questions?
So what does that interest add up to?
The interest on, see, I get my calculator.
I think it's on here.
It's
Is it in the paperwork? I was trying to find it.
It's 0.60%, 60 basis points, 5 million, 30, approximately 30,000. I can get you a precise number.
35.
So we're limited in TAN to $10 million as a city, is that correct? No greater exposure through variable sources.
The city actually, by law, could issue short-term loans in excess of $10 million. The reason we have a $10 million limit here is that the bank gets a bank qualification, which means it gets a deduction for federal tax purposes. And that is the reason why they give you an even lower interest rate of 0.60. And that's where the $10 million limit comes. My understanding is that the city right now has no intention of issuing any tax-exempt obligations in excess of $10 million, so it should be able to meet that test. However, by law, in a general answer, you can't issue a short-term loan for more than $10 million so long as you meet certain state law requirements of not more than 75% of tax revenues and other requirements such as that.
Any other questions?
The 75%, what is our, and this is, I guess, more for Chris, 75% of what? What is our projected tax revenue for, I guess it'd be 2012?
For 2013, I projected
Well, isn't it 75% of 2012 is what it's based on?
last year.
Okay, I'm sorry, the earlier one we had was 2012. thought it was tax receipts of the previous year.
Yeah, now you're getting a little bit into the legal aspect of the corporation issue. But what I looked at was in 2013 being roughly 14 million in tax receipts. 75% of that would be well above the 5.4. There's also another provision that says you can't take more than your anticipated need, plus a small margin of about 5%. And I looked at a 12-month cash flow for 2013, figured in the month of September, I believe, is where we hit the 5.4 million total at our highest need mark. So that's what we're also looking at. I can talk a little bit more as to the 2012, word of receipts, how that comes into this.
The requirement is a state law requirement, and as a policy, in order for new cities to borrow, we have to use what you would have expected to collect if you were in existence in the prior year. The way the current law reads, there's no other interpretation as a policy, because if you were to read it in any other way, then new cities could never borrow, and new cities couldn't have funds to operate, and you couldn't have a new city. And certainly the legislature, when they approved you and allowed new cities to form, such as previous cities, Dunwoody, Sandy Springs, had in mind that you could do short-term financing. So it's based on what you would have borrowed in 2012.
All right, any more questions? All right, is there a motion on the floor? Nobody wants to make a
Yeah,
motion?
I'll take this one, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt Resolution 2013-01-03, consideration and approval of a resolution to authorize short-term loan in the principal amount of $5,400,000.
I will second.
Any discussion? All in favor of resolution 2013-01-03, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please read the minutes. Okay, number 11.
Mayor and Council, this is consideration of approval of resolution to designate the backup legal organ in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. We need to do a notice that we cannot meet the time frame on, and we need to go ahead and put it to use.
Okay,
We need authorization to do that.
all right. Is there a motion on the floor?
I move that we approve resolution R-2013-01-04, approval of a resolution to designate a backup legal organ.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of resolution 2013-01-04, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please read the minutes. Number 12, action item. Oh. Well, boring stuff's over with. We have found a clerk, ladies and gentlemen. Extremely excited because it was, hold your ball, please hold your applause. Hold your ball. It's very difficult. I didn't realize one of the things you just don't know when you're starting off a new city or when you're elected a mayor. I always think, I'm going to find a clerk. It's going to be easy. It's an extremely difficult position to fill in the city, and that's something we learned a lesson on. Because, number one, there aren't that many clerks, and it's kind of a specialized field, and you don't last long in this business if you're not a good clerk, so good clerks tend to be employed. And we found one that was employed and is, in my mind, and in folks who have met her mind, she's a top-notch candidate. Vast experience with the city of Smyrna. She's been clerk for the city of Smyrna for the past 10 years. She's got the highest designation that you can attain in the state of Georgia. I think she was the first one to attain the designation. Master of Clerks, or Clerk Dungeon Master, or I don't know what it is. Portal Master? Master of Municipal Clerks. And so we have the highest qualified clerk in the state of Georgia, maybe in the country, coming to work for the city of Brookhaven. And we are very excited to announce that Ms. Susan Hyatt is being nominated to be our city of Brookhaven's first city clerk. So if you please stand, Susan. you have anything you want to say?
Well, I'm looking forward to the challenge and the excitement of this community. So far, I've had a great time watching it on the website, trying to follow all these activities. And I have to say, you all are moving right along. You've really getting a lot done out of it, and I'm excited to be here. Thanks for your nomination and your acceptance. I'm very appreciative of it.
Well, thank you for coming to my house. We had no place to meet, to interview me at my house.
Thank
With
you.
my dog and my children and all of everybody there.
Yes, and I remember you said there was syrup on the table.
Yeah, there was syrup on the table.
But I enjoyed it, that made it awesome.
I was impressed when anytime you're interviewing someone and they say they have a job, and a well-paying job, and you ask them why would they want to come to the city of Brookhaven, and they say because they want a new challenge, I think it means you've got a good person. That's for the right reasons, and that's what she said. So I would like to nominate Ms. Susan Hyatt to be the city clerk for the city of Brookhaven. And is there a motion on the table?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Did we do this the right way? This is the first time we've really nominated anyone, okay? All in favor of approving the nomination of Susan Hyde to be the clerk for the city of Brookhaven, city clerk for the city of Brookhaven, please signify so by saying aye loudly.
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations, Ms. Hyde. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the city of Brookhaven. Any comments? Yes, comments?
You know, it seems like we stood up because this is the second most important position. The first is going to be city manager, obviously. But this is a key role for the city, and this is AAA class here. We done good. We done real good.
But also it's an important milestone is that Susan is employee 01 for the city of Brookhaven. All of us are acting or temporary. She is the first official employee of the city of Brookhaven.
And in some aspects, it is the most important job in the city of Brookhaven because keeping your records, you can't do that right as a city. You can't get anything right. You're done from day one if you can't keep your records properly. And that's the main focus, is having someone who's competent, knows how to have a system to keep your records and to get the agendas out and make sure that they're published. And very important things, that the attention to detail on this job is extremely important. If we can get this right, I think we have gotten it right. We'll be well suited for the future because starting your city with a good city clerk is, I'm sure, those of you who've been involved in starting cities know how important that is. So I'm just excited. I don't know why I'm so excited, but I just am. I think it's a great thing to have such a great person. And I feel the stress lifting off my shoulders as you've now become part of the city. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Welcome to Brookhaven. We can't wait to begin work. When are you going to, now, do we need to fire Belinda? Is there a motion on the floor? Oh, the oath, that's right. Before we fire Belinda, I'm kidding, I'm joking. For cause. Okay.
We love you.
Yes.
It shows.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. And thank you to all the other clerks beside Belinda. You've done a great job. Let's give Belinda a round of applause. Job. It was a pleasant, and you got the roll right every time, and we appreciate it. You've done all the. Yes, you did.
It's a great prayer.
Yeah, and you do great prayers. So can you come back? We appoint you chaplain, maybe. Interim chaplain. So, Ms. Hyde, if you please stand up and raise your right hand and repeat after me, if you would. I, Sharon Hyatt.
I, Susan Hyatt.
Well, there we go. That's the clerk's problem.
I didn't type that.
That was me.
Let's change that.
You see why we need
It was me.
it?
Said it was me.
Yes. Let's start over. All right. I, Susan Hyatt,
Susan Hyatt.
do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully perform the duties of city clerk.
You will have to do that.
I, Susan Hyatt,
I, Susan Hyatt.
do solemnly affirm
Do solemnly affirm.
that I will faithfully perform the duties of city clerk
I will faithfully perform the duties of city clerk
of the city of Brookhaven,
of the city of Brookhaven,
Georgia,
Georgia,
and that I will support and defend
I will support and defend
the Charter thereof,
the Charter thereof,
as well as the Constitution
as well as the Constitution
and laws of the state of Georgia
and the laws of the state of Georgia
and the United States of America.
and the United States of America.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank
Does she need to sign this right now? I changed the name.
There you go.
Don't stop.
Thank you.
That's a good
All
point.
right.
Yeah, it is our first vote.
Yes. All right. Okay. Well, now that you're a clerk, did anybody you want to fire or do anything that you want to do? I just like saying that, I'm sorry. Number 13. Action item number 13, authorization to enter into an agreement, IGA, for aerial imagery. You want to address this?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We've been given an opportunity to join in with an agreement that the northern cities are entering into bid to have aerial imagery conducted on the North Fulton, part of DeKalb County, including Dunwoody, and Brookhaven, to do an aerial flyover. And out of that, we will be a part and parcel of that RFP. We're looking at our cost to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $11,000. That is being bid out, and the lead city on that is the city of Roswell. In addition to that, and we've got our IT staff here so they can correct me if I get the terminology wrong, but the planometrics will also be a part of that. So we will have just superb data, up-to-date data that we believe that DeKalb County will want to get from us. But it
Can we
will,
sell it to them?
I think we could, unless they want to
Can we
transfer.
exchange it for a
Yeah,
police
sure.
force?
Yeah.
We'll be speaking on that tomorrow.
Exactly. But our departments, planning and public works, will be able to utilize that with great force, along with our GIS department and IT. So all departments in the city will be able to utilize that, and we're recommending that you proceed and move forward and allow us to join that agreement. And Gary or Daniel can speak to more detail than.
All right. What, let me ask you this, what was the second part of this we were going to look at?
The second part, that was the computer equipment and software and licensing that's going to be later
That goes
in the
with-
agenda. But this is just the flyover, which will be done in February. We'll laser down so we can get.
So that's not, there's not a, I thought there was a second portion, but there.
Well, there's two pieces. There's the initial data that we get from the photographs is $11,000.
And
Then there's a second $11,000, but they use LiDAR. So we can get the height differentials, so you can contour.
Will we be getting, I mean, the second phase is just talking about planometrics, and now talking about, will we have topo with this also?
Yes, sir, that's correct. The first 11,000 is photography and LiDAR, radar to get the contours and stuff.
Okay.
Mr. Riley had mentioned. The second 11,000 is for planometrics.
Okay.
And that's where someone goes and says, oh, there's a building, let's get the actual footprint of that, the center lines and the streets, things of that nature that are a more manual process. And that is secondary, but recommended.
And will this be, can this be upgraded as, for instance, as we start doing storm sewer studies, can that information be added? Will we have,
Absolutely.
will we have the control so that we can tie our any other surveys and back into this?
That is correct. Think of the photography as your base map, and everything is a layer on top of that. And the contour map is a layer, the planometrics are a layer, stormwater, utilities, center lines, all those become layers on top of that.
So this is, okay, I'm sorry.
And will this eventually be available to the public?
Absolutely. There is in the budgets the ability to be able to add this onto the website. That is software that